Alright, here we go. Number 1. So the key on doing these problems, hey, we don't cuss. We're videoing. Come on, man. Alright. We got the key on getting these things graphed, okay? Is we want to plot the points. Alright, so we want to create a T-chart set up for X and Y. Okay? Now, you'll find that it's a little bit difficult to plug these points. Okay? So, it can be frustrating at times. So, if you choose points wisely, right? So, a couple points that I like. If I have a choice to plug in for X or to plug in for Y, like in this case, right? I can't just plug in both because I don't know that they're going to work. Does that make sense? So I'll choose what's the easiest point you can think of, the easiest number to plug in, you know? And that number should be 0, right? Because anything that multiplies against 0 is what?
0.
Right. So I'm going to do that for X first. When I do that, right, I'm going to plug it in and I'm going to say, okay, 6 times 0 minus 5y is equal to negative 20, right? And now it's back to those problems that we did at the beginning of the year. And we need to solve, right? So we need to use that SAD math. So the first step, if we say what we did, come in quietly because I'm videoing. Okay? If we say what we did is we're plugging in a value, right? So plugging in zero equals X. Okay? Now you could also call this f of 0, but that's going to come in time. Okay? That's what we're going to call it eventually. Okay? But right now it says, hey, we're going to plug in 0 is equal to X. And when I do that, I'm going to start doing my steps. So what is 6 times 0?
0.
0, right? So it just goes away, right? So now I have negative 5y is equal to negative 20, right? So the first step was multiplication, right? Division from left to right. So it was MD. Does that make sense? Right? Okay, and now the second step is solving. SAD math, right? But are we subtracting or adding? No, what are we doing? Or dividing, yeah. Because this is multiplying, what we're going to do is divide by a negative 5, right? What I do to one side? That's right. And so that's actually dm, right? Dividing, multiplying, opposite, right? Okay? And when I get that, these cancel, which is good, that gives me y is equal to what?
4.
To,
Negative 4.
well, 2 negatives make a
Positive.
positive, so it's actually positive 4, right? So it's just 4. So I got 0 and 4. Does that make sense? Now how do I plot 0 and 4? So we take a look at this graph that we have, right? And I'm going to go over 0. Where's 0 at? Oh, it's right here. In the x direction, correct? 0 is, well, it didn't move anywhere. But where's y? Y is at where? It's at 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's going to be, that is your 0, 4. Does that make sense? That is your 0, 4, okay? Now I'm going to show you another really easy graph. Again, what's easiest to graph? What number is the easiest to graph? What number? What number is the easiest?
0.
0, right? So we plugged it in for x. Do you think we could plug it in for y? Right?
Yeah.
Okay? So we're going to plug it in this time for y. Does that make sense? Okay? Now, we're going to start another section. Because it won't look like the last one. It's going to be a little bit different, right? You're going to pay attention today, remember? Come on, take those headphones off. So I'm going to plug it in. Please don't walk in front of the thing. Thank you. Alright, so I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to say 6x, right, is minus 5 times what? 0, right? Because we're going to plug in 0 for y is equal to negative 20, right? Okay? And guys, turn the music off. Tap her shoulder, please. That's got to be off. I'm recording. All right. So we're plugging in 0 for y. You follow me? All of you?
Yeah.
That just walked in? Pay attention. Write this down. Here's your worksheets. Okay? Now, what is it? What is the given? It's not given, but what did we do? We plugged in what?
0.
Yeah, we plugged in 0 equals y, correct?
Yeah.
Right? Okay? And so when we do that, right? When we do that, what happens with 5 times 0?
0.
It's 0, right? In fact, what happens to negative 5 times 0? It's still 0, right? So what happens here is we get 6x is equal to negative 20, right? And then y? PEMDAS or SADMAT? PEMDAS, yeah. We multiplied, right? We just did PEMDAS. MD, right? We did the MD from left to right. So we did PEMDAS from left to right. We said negative 5 times 0 is 0, right? And because that's 0, 0 plus 6x is 6x, yeah? And now we're doing that first step, that one step problem that I've been having all of you guys do all year long, right? And that is solve it. How do I solve 6x equals negative 20? How do I solve that? I divide by what? 6, okay? So now I divide by 6. Divide by 6, right? Uh-oh. I get this is gone. That's good. And x equals negative 20 over 6. Can we reduce that? Because that looks like it's reducible. Does anything go into negative 20 and 6? 2. How many times does 2 go into negative 20? Negative 10. How many times does 2 go into 6? 3. So x actually equals negative 10 over 3. Now first of all, the black, what did we do? We did dn, right? dm opposite, right? And then what did we do? We divided by 2, right? We simplified, right? So in this case, in this blue, this is going to be the first time we actually use simplify. You're reducing. So if you want to say simplify, if you want to say we reduce the fraction, It's up to you. Okay? Either one. Simplify, reduce the fraction. Right? Whatever you wanted to say, but that's what we did, okay? But the next step is, how do I graph negative 10 thirds? Well, I have to have that in a mixed fraction, right? I can't have that, I don't know what 10 thirds is, right? So I have to turn it into the mixed fraction, which is what? How many times is 3 going to negative 10?
3.
Right? So x equals negative 3 times, right? Because it's a negative number. So 3 goes into 10 3 times with how many left over? 1. 1 left over to 3, right? So it's negative 3 1/3. How do I graph this? For one, how do I graph a fraction? Alright, so think, x direction. I'm going to come over 1, well, let's try to make it nice with the other one. 1, 2, 3. And this is why I was telling you at the beginning of the year, graphing paper in your notebook, graphing notebooks is going to be best. And a lot of you chose those, the line ones, right? The Collar's rule. So it's going to be, you're going to have to create your graphs in there. You understand? So it's going to be a little harder for you to graph in those notebooks than it will if you have a graphing notebook. Okay? So if I go over negative 3, but that's not enough, is it? I have to go over negative 3. Well, how do I do a third? Can I just go over about a third? Does that make sense? Because I'm not going up at all, right? I went up 0. I'm like right here. But I'm going left 3 and a little bit more than 3, right? And so this is my line. And we could actually graph that line because 2 points create a line. That's if I knew it was a line, right? How do I know if this is a line or not? We haven't learned that yet, have we? Like, is this linear? Is it not linear, right? So we haven't talked about parent functions yet. So before I can say it's a line, I gotta graph some more points and make sure that they fit on here. Because if they start to go like this, then we know it's not a line, is it? We know that it's non-linear. Does that make sense? So if it's a line, it's going to land up on these black dots. If it's not a line, it's going to start to drift away from it. Either going up, going down, whatever. Does that make sense? So what do we got to put? What are we going to do? How do you want to do it? How are we? What number should we plug in?
4.
4?
Yeah, it's average. Or whatever.
Why do you want to plug in 4? Because y was 4?
Isn't that supposed to be a pattern?
Oh, there should be a pattern. Yeah, there should be a pattern. And yeah, we could plug in a 4. Now, if we plug in a 4, things are going to get big real quick, and that's fine with me. You guys want to plug in 4? We know that it's what? If it's a line, and we plug in a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then we should get somewhere around here, right? Which is a 1, 2, or 2, 3, 4. So somewhere around 4 or 5. Does that make sense? So we should get somewhere around there. Does that make sense? Or not 4. Sorry, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we should get it around an 8 somewhere. Does that make sense? So should we plug in a 4 and see what we get? Okay. Sounds good. Now you can plug in anything. You can plug in a 1. You can plug in a 4. Any number you want. I would have plugged in a 1. Why would I have plugged in a 1? Yeah, it's a small number, right? But 4 works, so I'm going to plug in a 4. Okay? So if I plug in a 4, now we're running out of space here, right? So I'm going to have to find some more space somewhere. So let's do it right here. Okay? And I'm going to say what? 6 times what? What did I plug in? 4, right? And then minus, because this is my equation, right? Minus 5y equals 20, right? Or negative 20, sorry. Equals negative 20, okay? All right? And so then what happens? I start to solve it. Now it's not as easy as before, right? So this was what step? Not given. X equals 4, right? Plugged in 4. However you want. This is good enough for me. X equals 4. And now, let's figure it out. So what's the first thing? 6 times 4 is what? 24. Okay? So 6 times 4 is 24. Minus 5y equals negative 20. What did we do there? What step is that? Is that PEMDAS?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's PEMDAS. It's actually MD, right? Going from left to right. Okay, then what? Can we solve now?
Yeah.
So now we went from a one-step solving to a two-step solving, right? Okay, so what's our first step?
Is that a Y or 4?
That's a Y. That's a Y. That's a 4.
Okay.
This is 24. Remember?
Yeah.
So can we subtract 24? Subtract 24. Woo, that's a big number. Okay, that's okay though. All right, so you have 5y equals what? This cancels. Negative 44. Cool. Okay, okay. All right. Then what?
Divide 5.
Divide by which one? Negative 5 or 5?
Negative 5.
Negative 5, okay. So, wait, what step was that? Red. SA, good job. SA, right? Opposite. Right? And then divide by, you said 5, negative 5. Right? Okay? And then what? So we get y is equal to, 2 negatives make a, so we know it's positive. Does 5 go into 44?
No.
No, but it goes into 40, right?
Yeah.
How many times? 8? With how many left over? 4? 8 4/5, right? So that's my 8 4/5. Then how would I graph that? I'd go up 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And these would probably be a little bit wider. 7, 8, 4/5. So I'm kind of like right here, right? So, does that make sense? And look, it's kind of fitting our line, doesn't it? Okay? So, what would be the last number we want to prove that it's a line? So we have this one.